Hi, welcome to hsowing. Today we're going to do a tutorial on setting up your steering servo. The vehicle we're using today is the Dominus, and we are going to be adjusting the servo to make sure everything's square and straight. Two reasons you'd want to do this. One is if the vehicle came from the factory and the steering servo is not set up true, meaning that you'll have more turning radius in one direction, less turning radius in the other direction. The other reason you might want to do this is if you buy a new servo, you're going to want to make sure you put it in correctly so that you, for one, that it drives straight, and two, that you get the same turning radius in both directions. So let's get started. So on the Dominus, the first thing you'd want to do is you're going to need to remove the servo from the tray because you can't get to the servo arm screw while it's screwed in. So let's do that. Now that we've had the steering servo loose, we can now unscrew the servo arm from the servo head. To do that, you just need to unscrew the small screw on the top here. Just pop the servo arm off. So now you have the servo. So what you want to do is power on your vehicle and your radio. You should make sure your radio is turned on first. So what happens is when you turn the car on, the servo returns to its neutral position. What you want to do on the Dominus one is, remote is you will adjust the trim settings until you get to the trim center. And what you'll do is you'll turn it in either direction until you hear the long beep, and that means you're centered. Once you're centered, you can put the servo arm back on. But let's center it up first. So now I'm at neutral, and so my servo is dead center, meaning that when I give it a throw in either direction, I get the same distance throw in either direction. So now what you want to do is reconnect the servo arm. When you connect that servo arm, you want it to be in a 90-degree angle from the servo. So you don't want it to be angled in either direction like this. If it is, then what you're going to do is you're going to give yourself less turning radius in one direction. So you want to go as 90 degrees as possible. Sometimes the servo heads don't allow you to go exactly 90, but like I said, you're going to go as 90 as possible. So now that I have it set on at a 90 degree, I can go ahead and re-screw the servo arm back onto the servo. Okay, so at this point, my radio steering trim is set to neutral, my servo is at neutral, and my servo arm is 90 degrees up. So now what you do is you're going to re-screw in, screw your servo back down in to place. Let's do that. Okay, so now that we have the servo screwed back in place and we've got everything trued up, the next step is to look at the steering, or at your wheel alignment. So right now mine is going a little to the right. So what you want to do is, instead of using your trim setting on your radio, because what happens is you end up using too much trim on your radio and you're actually going to lose some turning radius in one direction. So before you use a trim setting on your radio, you really want to eyeball it and center everything as best as possible. So best way to do that is to adjust the linkage between the bell crank and the servo arm. And to do that, you need to power the vehicle off, and then that way rotate it so you can get, you'll notice there's a little hole inside of the shaft right here, and you can actually twist that to lengthen or shorten it. Now for me, to bring it back to the left, what we want to do is lengthen it. So let's get a tool here. Use something that you can fit in the hole there and twist it so it lengthens it. So let's turn it back on. Look, and then still a little bit to the right. This side. Oh, you know what? I was shortening it. So we go the other direction. Alright, turn it back on. So it looks like I went a little too far. Let's see. No, actually that looks good. So, now that you've straightened up the servo arm, adjusted the linkage between the bell crank and the servo arm, and your trim is set to 0, now go out and test drive it, and if it pulls in one direction to the right or left, that's when you're going to use your trim adjustments. It's just a fine-tuning adjustment. It's not really, shouldn't be going past, say, like 10 clicks on the trim adjustment. Like this radio shows a trim adjustment in a percentage, so I don't like to go past 10%. If it goes past 10%, then you really should be adjusting the linkage mechanically and not using your digital trim. Usually you should only have to do 2 or 3 clicks in one direction to fine-tune it and straighten it out. So thanks for tuning in. I hope the tutorial was helpful. Please feel free to post any questions or comments on RC Wild videos on YouTube, or also you can visit RC Wild on Facebook. I'm also going to put links to this on Helion RC's Facebook page as well, and I'll put them on the RC Wild Facebook page. So thanks again, and have a great day. Hope this was helpful.